Trevethan Gin is a craft gin company which was born out of my grandfather's early years as a chauffeur when he used to make bathtub gin and obviously sell it to friends and family. And he had a recipe and we loved the history of it, and myself and my business partner John wanted to take it further and do a distilled version.
I've always had a bit of a passion for distilled spirits. I'm a chemist by trade, and I said to Rob that we should really be doing something of our own. And then when he told me the story about his granddad making a bathtub gin and being the chauffeur at Port Elliot, it snowballed from there really.
We spent quite a lot of time in developing a number of recipes, because obviously we never strayed from the original botanicals, but the percentages of those botanicals and what we do with them was obviously John's skill, and we were determined to make a very, very good product, so to do it justice.
We pick the gorse flower and elderflower at my wife's family dairy farm. Her mum does so much of the picking for us over the summer. We get in and help as much as we can, but it's a real family effort. It means that we hand dry those botanicals ourselves. We get some really vibrant flavours. I mean, you also get seasonal variation as well. I've been involved in every step of the process, so taking the botanical recipe, looking at the proportions, scaling it up, working out how to use the filling machine, labelling things by hand signing it. That's all been a kind of a process, and different stages of it have evolved over the last couple of years, and we now have people coming in and doing some of the labelling and bottling for us. But they are people we know and we've brought into the business because they're just as passionate about the product. Karen, who's been labelling bottles and filling bottles for us for the last 12 months or so, she's actually from Hawaii, and she's constantly taking photos of this gin product and sending it back to her family and saying, this is what I'm involved in, this is what I'm doing. And I think that's the sort of business we want to build, a business where people are passionate about the product, and hopefully that will mean we'll never get complacent and we'll always produce a quality product. So the honey oak gin is a prime example of why you should have a handcrafted aspect to your product. I don't know if that idea would have come to me if we hadn't been out picking those botanicals on the farm. I saw Daryl cutting up an oak tree that had come down. We had some really bad storms last winter. They were going to chop it up and use it for firewood, but I'd obviously been looking into spirit aging. It's an interest of mine as well as my job now. And I said, let me have some of that. The honey side of it, I think, came really because I wanted to add another Cornish raw material in there. And I know that gin has its own kind of earthy quality, and oak was going to emphasise that. So I wanted something that would then come through and add that little note of sweetness as well. And I think that works well for a sipping gin and a gin and tonic. I think the biggest compliment, and I guess a slight surprise in some ways, people compare our gin to others in the marketplace by saying it tastes like gin. You get a lot of new gins coming through which are quite floral, they're quite citrusy. People are trying to lighten the kind of earthy notes of juniper. But for me, and being true to Norman's recipe, there was a reason why juniper became the predominant flavour in gin and why it is a legal requirement. So I've tried to keep it there, and everything else in our botanical mix is just there to help that juniper in the taste. So hopefully people go, that tastes like gin.